Hi, it's Patak. I'm going to do a Kung Fu Kid tutorial for the Master 8 race for Sega Crew. This is a pretty simple game. It only took me about 2 to 3 hours to get a mid-9x time. Really doesn't take much at all. So timing starts on the title screen when you press 1 or 2. You start with 3 lives. And the first thing I'll let you know is that there's a hard game over in this game, there's no continues. So you do need to be a little bit careful, but that's really the only issue. You can see my mouse cursor here, so let's go over everything. You've got a power bar in the top here, that's going to tick down whenever you take a hit. There's a couple of spots where you can get sweet buns, which will help you out. You've got enemies coming from the left and from the right. There's only going to be a set amount of enemies that can appear on the screen at once, which I think is like 3. So basically, you can get all the enemies behind you, and then run away from them and just keep them on screen behind you, and that makes everything easier. You've got a time limit here, don't worry about it, it's just meaningless for the speedrun. And you've got this symbol here that looks like a razor blade, and a counter, and these are going to be your talismans. And the talismans are a throwing weapon that you can get, and you'll get some of those when you kill a bunch of enemies. And you can throw those to kill other enemies. You can't use them on bosses, but they are important. And in the second stage and in the fourth stage, you get the chance to upgrade them to super talismans. You'll know you've got those because this razory bit will turn red, and you'll see a red razor. Those are really important because you're going to use those on certain enemies later in the game. Slightly awkward to get, but it's not too bad. So here's your character Wang, and old Master System games, you jump with the 1 button, which is inverted from what you might be used to if you've played many Master System games. You can jump variable heights, so if I just show you here, if I jump for like 10 frames, if I actually unpause it would help. So if I jump for 10 frames, I go to here. If I jump for a couple of frames, we'll go less height. When you take damage, you'll stay in place for a few frames. You can jump all the way up, but you can also wall kick. So when you're facing the wall here, if you press your kick button again, you can kick away from the wall, and then you can even move mid-air on your jump, back left or right, as you wish. So you got a lot of range of motion with this game, it's pretty cool. And we're going to be using that wall jumping mechanic in a number of places, either to get away from things or to do some skips. That's about all there is to this game, really. It is literally just kicking. So your 2 button is to kick with. Most enemies will go down in 1 or 2 hits. There's your talismans. And grab those. And when you want to use the talisman, what you need to do is hold up and press 2. And that's going to throw a talisman out in front of you. Whenever you kick or punch or throw a talisman, you're going to stay still for a minute. So what you really want to be doing is attacking in the air, because then you're not limited. So if you kick, you stay still for a minute, but if you kick in the air, you can move around and do it this way, it's a bit easier. Okay, so from the first stage, main thing you're going to be doing is jumping and jumping and jumping, because you're slightly faster when you jump as well. Notice you've got 3 enemies behind you here. Let's say, for example, that you kill a couple of them, and you've got some enemies coming towards you from the front here. Remember, when you're jumping, you can move back the way as well, so you can always change your position. You're just going to keep jumping and keep grouping enemies behind you. Nice and simple. And bear in mind, when enemies go off the bottom of the screen here on the left, you might get more enemies spawning in from the right. Nice short stage, and you'll notice we've stopped scrolling because we've got a boss coming up here, but we've got enemies on screen. Boss won't trigger until you kill these enemies. And if you scroll backwards, you'll also stop the boss from appearing until you get to the scroll. So let's make a save state and have a look at the first boss. And the first boss is a monk who is going to come at you and try and kick at you. And when he gets in close, he's going to try and do a low kick. Very simple. You can see I'm not damaging him at all. So what you need to do is do lots of low jumps and low kicks, and just keep following him around like this. And at the end of every stage, there's going to be a timer countdown and a health countdown, and you're going to walk to the right hand side from wherever you are. So look, that time there you're losing. So at the end of every stage, you want to either be on the right hand side or jump kick to the right hand side on your last hit. Show you that again. So obviously I'm losing a bit of time there. But if you do it that way, it's going to be slightly easier, because you're going to lose a little bit less time. See just how quick that is. So, stage 1. Do high jumps. Get out the way of enemies. Obviously you can plan out which jumps you want to do, or you can just cheese it. No real effort to this at all. I've got 3 enemies on screen, they're getting closer, they're getting closer. Because it's the first stage, I'm not even going to worry about them hurting me, because I'm going to keep them on screen and then it's going to make it quicker for me to kill the boss. Boss time, jump and kick. Try to have a few frames of delay between your jump and your kick, because there's a bit of input eating in this game. And if you die, that's okay. Whenever you take a death, you'll start again at the start of the stage. You can get extra lives for killing lots of enemies, but you shouldn't have a problem. Just keep jumping along. Keep these guys on screen. Get your talismans. If you want to just spam kick this guy like this, you can. And go to the right, and that's stage 1.